Before we get to highlights from the Thibodaux Jamboree, we do want to say this. At the very end of the Terrebonne-Ellender game, and it's actually why I left to come early, there was about 40 seconds left. It's hitting up on 10:30, and a young man from Terrebonne went down, and all of the paramedics and stuff went out. We understand it was for treatment of a concussion, and we hope that the young man is okay, and I'm sure they're going to make sure. Larry D'Antoni from Thibodaux Regional was there, and they worked with the young guy, but it was a concussion. Some people thought it was a leg injury or this or that. And I understand they actually stopped the Jamboree, but there was only 40 seconds left. You know, it was just no point in going on with it. So we certainly hope that the young man is okay. In Thibodaux, the first game was Assumption against Vanderbilt, two teams who promised to be powers in 8-4A, two teams who made the playoffs last year. And you kind of hate to see them get together this early. Assumption very promising with just about everybody back, and a lot of athletes at Assumption. Vanderbilt Catholic features Elijah McGuire and Seth Ward on the offensive and defense side of the ball, but they also feature a staff we talked about a little bit earlier. We can talk about Coach DuPont, who do a great job. So let's get out to Thibodaux High School, and this was the first game in that one. This was a 6 o'clock start time. As you can see, everything happening in the day as the Terriers come out through their breakthrough. This is the guy that makes it go for Assumption, Hunter Gotro. Got hurt last year, but when he was playing, he was good. He hands it off to DeJuan Tucker. He runs for about 7 yards. But Vanderbilt now is kicking off. So, folks, I can't tell you why they're kicking off at this point. I'm not quite sure. Let's assume it's to start something. I'm not sure if Vanderbilt had scored. But on the run back is Jeremiah Jarvis. Assumption's quarterback, Hunter Gotro, throws a nice pass. That is to Malik Mills. They always come up with really good receivers over at Assumption also. Hunter Gotro throws an incomplete pass. That one intended for Jarvis at the goal line. And this is what he can do. He can also run the ball. If he gets in trouble, Hunter Gotro can make things happen. Not much of a gain there, but he does pick up a few. And here we go. With all that pressure on him, he ends up throwing a touchdown pass. I think the young man gets it inside the cone. That is DeJuan Oliver, so touchdown Assumption High School. And here's the man for Vanderbilt Catholic, Elijah McGuire, and he runs along with it and gets around the corner on the right side, and when he does, he can motor, he scores. But unfortunately for Vanderbilt Catholic, as we look at their cheerleaders, it wasn't enough. Assumption wins it 13-16. Not quite sure the flow of that game. I was interested to see if Elijah McGuire would be playing because he didn't play in the scrimmage the week before, but he did play. And Assumption, like I said, when Hunter Gotro's good, they are good. Last year you played Assumption. I don't think you guys, did y'all play Vanderbilt last year?
No.
Y'all used to play him in a series, but once again, Elijah McGuire is the real thing, and Coach Torres does a good job at Assumption, and I'm sure they'll be in the running again.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and they're one of the largest 4A schools, so you know that's an advantage also. But since Coach Torres has been back, he's really getting the talent out there, and he's doing a great job. Well, an old coach, you know, who knows how to tweak and do what's necessary, just like Coach DuPont. I promise you, when they play in the regular season, it's going to be a barn burner, and the experienced staff he has and the job that they do, both teams, it's going to be exciting. And like you said, with South Terrebonne in that mix, that's going to be a crazy district.
I agree, and when the Bayou district broke up, you were a little disappointed, but seeing that South Terrebonne and Assumption actually still fall in our area, because we thought Assumption might actually get out to Baton Rouge. It's kind of nice to see them in the area. I'm not sure the guys at Central and Travis and those guys or South really wanted to see Westgate and New Iberia, but it is what it is. You know? It could have been a totally different scenario altogether, so we'll see how it all pans out. E.D. White, AAA school, taking on Thibodaux 5A school. Obviously a huge rivalry in the Thibodaux area. They played the second game of this, and this is the first I really see of any highlights or see the script sheet. As a matter of fact, I just saw the final score of this. A little surprising. Here we go. This is number 8, Wesley Lassaire. He hands the ball off to Nigel Robinson. Nigel Robinson on the run for Thibodaux High School. I was very impressed with E.D. White's defense last week. Here's Lassaire again. He throws the ball to Nigel Robinson. And and he's running it after for a nice gain for Thibodaux. Again, there's about 9 kids that Chris Bergeron, defensive coordinator over at E.D. White, was telling me played a lot last year on defense. He said they're kind of hanging their hat on defense a lot, so I was curious to see, because I really respect Chris Dugas's offensive capabilities and calling plays, and evidently E.D. White came up pretty good in this one. You'll see just a little while when we get you the final score in this one. That was Nick Fogel who handed the ball off to Luke Lejeune for a pickup, and here is Nick Fogel again to Lejeune. Not much of a gain on that one. And Rene Thibodaux comes in, and it is good. He converts on a field goal, so E.D. White up at that point in the game. And then next, carrying the ball, what a nice run right there. Not a whole lot of yardage, but a nice run. That's Blade Martinez giving it off to Daquan Farrellgood. And here is the next play, which I actually didn't see all of, but here we go. A little bit of a surprise to me from the standpoint of, you know, just being such a big rivalry. E.D. White, 14, Thibodaux, 8. Interestingly enough, at that game, E.D. White's playing, and I'm sure Vanderbilt's watching, and then when Vanderbilt was playing, E.D. White's watching, because those two teams hook up next week in week 1. Thibodaux played a pretty good scrimmage against Central last week, so I thought offensively it was going to be a showdown between them and E.D. White's defense. I assume E.D. White's defense played pretty well in this game.
Yeah, they must have. And, you know, after the run E.D. White made last year and knowing they were losing a bunch, like I said, it's kind of a surprise, but Coach Lasang and Coach Bergeron do a great job. And like I said, they're loading that defense up, and they're going to make another run, and it's going to be a heck of a district for those guys.
Bobby Arsenault had asked me at the game tonight when we were on a break from radio. He said, "You saw E.D. White last week. What do you think?" And I said, "They look really good on defense. They scrimmaged H.L. Bourgeois, and they looked really good on offense. They lost the Busanel kid on the first series. He had twisted his ankle." So I said, "I'm not sure how much it cost them or anything, but you know." And then he says, "Well, is it going to be a rebuilding year?" And I started thinking about it. And there are those teams that rebuild. E.D. White's kind of not in that mode.
Right.
I'm not, and it's not necessarily reload and they're coming back every year, but they just kind of, you know, during the year they'll get it together. Of course, their district is really tough because they go into Port Allen, they got St. James, St. Charles Catholic, so it's going to be a tough district for those guys. Really tough district. By the way, before we go to break, and I don't know how you felt about this, so we had actually at one time talked to Coach Battaglia about it. It looked like Homer Christian was either going to go to the Acadiana corridor, which would have been Central Catholic, Gaydon, those teams out there, Delcom, although Delcom moved up in classification, or you were going to go to Metairie with all the Metairie schools, which is Country Day, Crescent City, I think Ecole Classique, Ridgewood. Your thoughts on that? Would you have preferred one over the other?
Not really. I guess
or because some of your football players are behind the cameras, you don't care? Just line them up and we'll play them?
Yeah, I guess we'll let you know at the end of the season. But no, not, you know, being a little familiar with, of course, Central Catholic and a couple schools. When I went through at Nichols, I recruited some of those schools. So either way, there's talent at those schools, and they're established schools, and we're the new kids on the block. So it's going to take time for us to establish whether we went west or to New Orleans. So it's a level of competition there. Everybody's got kids that could play, so it really didn't matter.
I agree. It was, I don't know, half dozen of one, six of the other when it all, I guess, pans out, except I didn't know if it cost the school travel money, maybe more to go one way or the other way or whatever, but I think it'll turn out all right either way. We are going to go down to the South Lafourche Jamboree. Miller McCoy, a team that's coming in on Thursday to play South Terrebonne. You folks from South Terrebonne want to maybe take heed of this. Miller McCoy might be a pretty good football team. We didn't know that before. And your old stomping grounds, old alma mater, Central Lafourche, and I know you and Travis are still close.
Right.
They had a pretty good night tonight. We'll look at the South Lafourche Jamboree when we get back.